Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Bill Evertsberg. I'm one of the pastors here at Kenilworth Union Church. We're delighted you're here to hear from Chris Falcon, who braved the elements to do so. And Chris Beer, our faithful member, is the one who put us in touch with Chris. So I'll let Chris tell you about Chris.
Great. And you will see I have notes because there's a lot to tell you about Chris. It is my pleasure to introduce you to Chris Falcon. Chris is a personal trainer, a small business owner, an author, an artist, a motivational speaker, a musician, and an anti-bullying crusader. Obviously, he's an underachiever. Those who work with Chris consider him to be a leader, a mentor, and a life advisor. In the time I've known Chris, I've marveled at his ability to create connections, bring together communities, and inspire those communities to share their experiences. Chris, welcome to Kenilworth Union, and thank you for sharing your experience with us.
All right, everybody. Woo! There it is. The first thing we're going to do is I'm going to have you guys do an exercise for me, okay? And this exercise is not going to involve squats or burpees, so don't get nervous, okay? But here's what you're going to do. You'll notice that on the front of your chair, there's a sticky note, an orange sticky note. Now, I didn't really, anticipate everybody being in chairs like this. I thought maybe the format might be tables or something. So here's the deal. My assistant is going ahead and passing out writing utensils. This is what I need you to do. I need you to take your sticky note, and it's kind of right in front of you between your legs. You'll see it there. I need you to rip it into 4 pieces for me. 4 pieces. And then what I want you to do after you're done ripping it into 4 pieces is I want you to write something on each one of these pieces of paper. On one, I want you to write the name of a family member. The name of a family member. On another piece of paper, I want you to write the name of your best friend. The person you're going to go out for drinks with after we're done here. No, that's not going to happen. I know. I didn't know there were going to be so many kids here. I thought it was adult education. After that, I want you to literally write down the 2 words, my health, on another piece. My health. And lastly, I want you to write down something that you're passionate about. Your passion, something that you are passionate about, put that down on the final piece of paper, okay? And when you are done with that, my assistant, Amara, is going to go around the room, and you need to make a decision on the spot to give up one of those things. One of those things, and when you give it up, it is gone forever. Amara, please make your rounds.
What was the second one?
I don't remember the second one. Here, so it's a family member, yeah, best friend, yeah. You just put down my health, so your health, and yep, your health, and then something you're passionate about. Okay, whether it's guitar or anything, something you are passionate about. Okay, and Amara's going to go around. You need to drop that piece of paper in the basket, and that is gone. Okay, she's making her rounds. Really think hard. And if you put down your mom, don't give that one away. It was Mother's Day. Yeah, literally. So your health, your physical, your health and well-being. Put that down on there. Yeah. You can just put health if you want to, but it's in reference to your physical health, your actual health, which is hopefully something that you hold dearly. Are we almost there? Come on, fast ride. I know it's tough decisions, okay? I know it's tough. Decide, decide. You got to decide now. Dump something in the basket. Let's go. Just give up one. You don't have to give up two. Just give up one. Just give up one. Yep, you've got to give up one to be gone forever. Do we have everybody? We're probably almost done. So I want you guys, as I continue to talk, to think about how it feels, how you feel right now having given up whatever it was that you gave up. Was it your passion, something that you love to do? Was it a family member? That's a tough one. Was it your best friend? Was it your health? Whatever it was, I want you to really think about how it feels to give up whatever it was that you gave up. Now, I'm going to go ahead and get into what it was that I prepared for this evening, and I got to be honest with you, I didn't prepare very much for this talk tonight, okay? I really didn't. And the reason is because I was invited here to share my story with you guys, okay? To share my story. And I feel like there's so much preparation that we have to do for so many different things. Prepare what we're going to say, what we're going to do, what we're going to wear. I don't need to prepare myself to share my story with you guys, because here I am and here I stand, and this is it. So I'm going to share the story. When I was a young boy, I had many loves. And one of the things that I loved was orange-flavored anything. It didn't matter what it was. I loved orange-flavored anything. And in addition to that, I loved Transformers. I loved my G.I. Joes. I loved He-Man. I loved my mom. It was just Mother's Day. I specifically loved her when she'd make me eggs and toast on Saturday mornings while I was watching my cartoons. But one thing I can tell you guys, the exact moment that I fell in love with was orange popsicles. I love orange popsicles. It's good, but it's cold. And I also loved my mom. And growing up as a boy, my mom married a man that I thought loved her. He was tall, he had good hair, and he loved to play the guitar. When I was a little boy, growing up in our two-bedroom apartment, one thing I couldn't understand was how come my mom did so much crying when she was with somebody that was supposed to love her. I didn't get it. I couldn't figure it out. One day, when I was in my room that I shared with my sister, I heard my mom crying. Again. I had just gotten a brand new He-Man sword. I love that sword. And I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to use this sword to go see what's happening with my mom, because this is going to give me powers, and maybe I can get her to stop crying. So I took my sword, opened the door, and went out into the kitchen. And there I saw my mother on her knees, crying, with this man that loved her standing above. He had good hair. He loved to play guitar. But in this moment, he didn't look anything like someone that loved my mother. He looked like a beast that needed to be slain. And my mom was crying, and she was screaming. And so I came up to the man, and I knew this would be my moment. I took that sword, and I started slashing at his back. Every single time it hit his back, the blade just bent and bent. I'll never forget that feeling. I felt so powerless, taking that sword and just swinging it away and just not even making a dent. I'll never forget how it felt to swing that He-Man sword and not have it make any contact. But one thing I'll also never forget in that moment was the moment when he turned around and punched me right in my face. Now I was a tender about 5 or 6 years old, and I'll never forget that sensation of flight, of being weightless, as I flew through the air, hit the floor, and slid up into the wall. I remember my mom screaming, "Leave him alone," and my little sister, who was all about 2 years old, crying in the other room. I then remember when he picked me up, opened the door to the apartment, threw me in the hallway, and slammed the door. I stood there, and I listened to my mother cry, and I heard something interesting. This was back in the 80s, and we had one of those old rotary phones, and I heard the phone pick up, and I thought, well, maybe someone's going to call for help. Maybe someone's going to call for help, and they're going to come and they're going to help my mom. But instead, I heard the phone make a thud noise, the receiver make a thud noise, and I heard my mom yell and scream. After a few more thuds, I didn't hear my mom yelling anymore. But the next thing I felt was a hand on my shoulder, a nice warm hand. It was the lady that lived across the hallway, which to me then, she seemed like she was so much older, but I think she was only in her 50s now that I think about it. And she brought me into her apartment. She closed the door. She sat me down on a daybed by the window. And she took out an orange popsicle. She gave me the popsicle, and she said, "Don't worry. Everything's going to be okay." My lip was swollen and bloody from the blow, and I remember the popsicle made it feel so much better. It was the first time I'd had an orange popsicle, and it felt so much better. Later, the police came. They removed the beast with good hair who loved to play guitar, and I never saw him again. And things were better. Anytime I thought about what happened to me or the physical scars on my lip, I just grabbed an orange popsicle. And like the neighbor lady said, everything was better. If there were no popsicles around, I grabbed an orange anything, and it always made me feel better. As I got older, it was time to go to school. And growing up where I grew up, I was one of the only brown kids. I say brown, you might say black, whatever it is. My soul has no color. But I was one of the only brown kids in school. And I lived in a place that was either the haves or the have-nots. And I certainly had not. I didn't have any of the good clothes, the good shoes. My mom was a single mom now, working several jobs to make ends meet. So I certainly had not. And being the only brown kid in school, I was definitely a target. And I was bullied every single day at recess for several years, simply because of something that I had no control over: the color of my skin. Every single day they bullied me. And I remember one day specifically, when it was time to go out to recess, all the kids got up and ran out, and they put on their outdoor shoes, and they ran out there. And like usual, I sat at my desk and waited. And the teacher came to me and said, "Christopher, it's time to go. You have to go out." What kid doesn't immediately run out for recess? I just sat there and waited, but I knew I needed to go. So I got up, walked outside, And I remember this particular day, I stood at the steps and I surveyed the lot and the field where all the kids would play to see if I could find the bullies. I didn't see them, so I took a few little steps down and tried to find a couple kids that might want to play with me. It didn't take long for these bullies and these kids to find me. And I didn't have a bully like you see on TV where one person is beating you up. I was always one of the biggest kids in my class. They bullied me in large groups. So it didn't take long for them to find me. I was pretty easy to find. And that's when the chase was on. I ran the entire recess long, running from these kids. But on this particular day, they got me. They cornered me in the sand lot, and they pushed me down. It was coming from so many different angles. There was no one for me to really address. They pushed me down, and they just kept pushing, and then they started kicking sand all over me. And it wasn't until the sand hit me right in my eyes, got right in my eyes, and I couldn't see anything, that these kids gave me something that I could never give back. It was a new beast. The beast that I call the beast of self-doubt. Doubt whether or not I was good enough. Doubt whether or not I belonged. Doubt whether or not I should even exist at all. As I got older, eventually the bullying stopped. I got bigger. I was playing football. Started wrestling. The bullying stopped. But always deep inside, there was this beast that was sitting there. I could feel it inside. It was something that no orange-flavored anything could make go away. But I did the best that I could. And I had a great time throughout middle school and in high school. But then, when I went to college my freshman year, something happened that I never, ever thought would happen. The beast of self-doubt became something that I could no longer control. Something I could no longer control. I was so passionate and I loved playing sports. I went to college to play football. I got injured, couldn't play football, and I felt like part of my identity kind of slipped away. One of my loves slipped away from me. And in that, I became depressed. And the beast of self-doubt reared its ugly head, grabbed me, and pulled me down to a place so dark where light could never exist. While there, I did something that I'd never thought about before. I made an attempt at taking my own life my freshman year of college. When I woke up in the hospital, after doing what I did to myself, I opened my eyes, and around the bed, I saw all of my best friends. I was in Wisconsin. They came from Illinois Wesleyan, Indiana, Bradley, Madison, all around the bed. And I'm looking at them like, what are you guys doing here? Am I in heaven? I'm not supposed to be here, so why are you here? And with tears in their eyes, they all said to me, how could you do this to yourself? We love you. How could you do this to yourself? I didn't have an answer at that time. But what happened next was truly profound. In that moment, I had a radical transformation of thought. While searching for the reason for why it was that I did this to myself, I didn't find an answer. But what I did find were reasons why I would never do it again. From that moment forth, and you heard all the things that the wonderful and talented Chris Beer said about me, I decided that I was going to maximize my potential in life every single opportunity and minute that I had available to me. I decided that I wasn't going to waste a single moment. I was going to push and maximize every single gift that I had. When I was done with school at 23 years old, I signed my first commercial lease on a building and opened my first business. I did all kinds of things from that point forth. Published children's stories, started other businesses, invented things and patents. I did everything, not because I wanted these things to necessarily succeed and make me millions of dollars, although that'd be great. I'm not here to collect paper. I'm here to collect experiences. That's what I wanted. Because I felt like in so many ways, I was here living on borrowed time. Like I wasn't even really supposed to be here. So since I am, I'm going to maximize every second of it that I had. While exploring one of my passions, which is physical fitness, people would bring their children to me. My son is being bullied at school. I think maybe if they exercise and become more confident, maybe that will help. It was a story that I heard all the time, over and over again, people bringing their kids to me, telling a story that wasn't just familiar. I lived that story. I felt that story. I knew that story so well. And over time, I thought to myself, okay, I'm helping these kids. I'm training them. They're getting stronger. But this is not enough. It's not enough for me to do this. I need to do more. I know I can do more. And so I thought, well, what can I do? What can I do? Well, I'm really creative. I can create things. And that was when I decided to start and create a not-for-profit anti-bullying organization called Take No Bullying. I reached out to people that I knew could be wonderful allies and assist me with this. And within 2 to 3 months, I had formed and created a 501c3 not-for-profit anti-bullying organization, focused on one thing: limiting the impact that bullying has on our children through community involvement, through bringing the community together to say that we are not going to take it. That was what I could do. And when I speak about this, people often say, well, what can I do? What can I do? And I ask them, I turn the question right around, I say, what can you do? Do you make amazing cookies? Are you a great singer? Do you make awesome lasagna? Whatever it is you can do what you can do to raise awareness and get people talking. I had an amazing experience about, and mind you, this is a 20th year anniversary from my suicide attempt this year. And I had an incredible experience this year, several months ago. When I was in college my freshman year, and I did what I did, I was 18 years old. So even though I was in the hospital and everything happened, no one was obligated to tell my mother. And my mother never knew. I didn't have the heart to tell her. As a young boy, even with the He-Man sword at 5 and 6 years old, I wanted to protect my mom. And I felt like by not telling her, I could keep her safe. But I started to get really, really vocal with everything that I was doing with anti-bullying. I started telling my story more and more. And I knew, you know what? She might find out, and I don't want her to find out by reading something in the Chicago Tribune or seeing something on the TV. And so I called my mother one day after I was done working about 8 o'clock at night. I said, Ma, I want to come over and talk to you. She said, is everything okay? I said, everything's fine. But I'm going to come over. She said, come over. My mother always goes to sleep early. I don't sleep. She goes to bed at like 8:30. So I came over to her house, went upstairs. She was in bed. I turned off the TV. I said, I have to tell you something. I told my mother exactly what I did. I told her how many pills. I told her everything that I did to myself back in 1998. What I saw was the equivalent of what my mother would have looked like if I had succeeded. She cried so hard. And all she did was repeat over and over again, my boy, my boy. And I told her, Ma, I'm here. I'm here. I'm right here. But she was so attached to what she wasn't there for, she couldn't bring herself into the moment where we were in. And she just said, my boy, and my boy over and over and over again. People underestimate the timeline that bullying takes, the bullying timeline. The bullying that happened to me happened between the ages of, let's just say, 7 and 9, 7 and 10. But the impact was not truly felt until a decade later. A client of mine, his son was bullied in middle school, and he took his life in his late 20s and succeeded. If I could give you guys any bits of information today to help you when it comes to all of this, understand that this timeline, the impact that bullying can have on someone's life, just because it looks like it's over in that moment, or it happened in first grade or second grade, sometimes it just takes a little exposure, just a little touch, to give you something that could stick around for a really long time. A really long time. To be perfectly honest with you, to be perfectly honest, I had doubts on whether or not I should exist, even in my adult life. That beast of self-doubt is not gone. It's still there, and I fight to keep it down, but it's still there. I feel it lurking behind me at all times. And so I stay active. I maximize my gifts and my potential. But it's there. It is there. And the faces of bullying, it's not just the people that you think. You know, maybe someone that looks a little quiet. I was big. I was athletic. You look at me now, you wouldn't think, oh, maybe, you know, this guy was picked on or bullied. The faces of bullying, all different colors, shapes, sizes. And it's not just something you can go and get a personal trainer or start taking some boxing lessons or something to satisfy a remedy. It's a serious problem. It's a serious problem. And so what do we do mentally? What's something that we can really do to truly impact this? One thing that I believe we can do is we need to focus. We need to focus, help our kids focus on searching and finding things that they love to do. Finding things that they love. Passions. If you immerse yourself in the things that you love to do, you don't have as much time to hate. We have to cultivate a culture and a reality that's all about that search for what it is that you love to do. I don't have time to pick on you. I'm too busy playing my guitar, man. I don't have time. We have to cultivate and work together to create that reality. I was doing some meditating one day, sitting up at some crazy hour in the morning, trying to figure out, like, what is this whole thing about? Like, literally life. And that's sometimes things that I'm just sitting there thinking about. Like, what am I here for? And I got to be honest. This is the only time this has ever happened to me. I'm sitting there in my office which I call the war room, but don't take it the wrong way. I'm sitting there. It's 2:30, 3 in the morning, and I'm sitting here like, what is the purpose? Tell me. And God spoke to me. God spoke to me. It's only happened to me one time in my life. And God told me this. God said, I get it. I get that sometimes it's hard to believe. I get that sometimes maybe we have doubt. But this is what I want you to do. I want you to go out there and collect things that you love. Be a collector of things that you love. And think about that for a minute. To go out there in the world and search and collect things that you love means you have to try a lot of things. You have to try things. You have to be brave. You have to put yourself in situations. You have to experience. Go out there and collect things that you love. I don't know if it was God talking to me or what, people, and I could tell, I'm here in a church. I could go ahead and I can say that to another group of people, and they'll sit there and want to debate all day long. It doesn't matter. If we focus on attacking life with the purpose of collecting things that we love, I promise you, you will be fulfilled. Collect people that you love. Go out, learn, meet people, find them. And if you meet someone that you love, Joel, where are you? I love you, man. Collect people that you love, experiences, things. You won't have time to hate. Teach our children to do the same thing. What are they supposed to do? Get out there and collect things that you love. An incredible amount of things that you love. And there's way more things out there to love than lacrosse, basketball, football, and hockey. Way more. My son loves writing. My other son likes throwing things at the wall, but he's 5, and that's just how how it is. And maybe he'll be really good at demolition one day. Maybe that's his thing. But the point is, I firmly believe that is why we are here. To get out there and search, fight, and collect the things that we love. That's all I do. That's how I live my life. For right or for wrong, that's what I do. And that includes speaking to wonderful people like you. So, thank you. Clapping. Now, we're not done yet, because I'm sure there are tons of questions that you guys have on all types of different stuff. So I really want to do some good Q&A right now. Is this the only mic we're using for that, or do we have another mic? Okay, if you guys have any questions on anything, my story on bullying, what to do, please, let's get them going right now, okay? Should I give them? Okay, come on over. Yeah, she's got a mic for you.
Was the monster that you hit with a sword your father?
No. The monster that I hit was not my father. My father actually died while my mother was pregnant with me in a car accident. And so I never had a chance to meet my actual father. And then she got remarried when I was about, or not remarried because she was never married to him. So she got married when I was about 2.5 years old, 3 years old. And that was the gentleman. That was the monster. And he was an alcoholic and a drug addict. Oh, we got people.
Do you think kids, young people like you were, do you think kids know when they're being bullied? Do you think they understand what it means to be bullied and how it feels to be bullied and that they are being bullied?
So bullying has a definition. Okay, it really does. I don't have it memorized, but I know it has to do with a few different things. There's a power struggle typically, okay? and someone's getting hurt. Everybody knows what it is to be hurt. Children know that. Sometimes they know that better than we know that. So in doing what it is that I do, speaking on bullying all the time, everyone wants to make, especially when you go to the schools, they want to talk about the difference between mean behavior, bullying, and all types of other things. And we really have to define it. Listen to me. A child that's hurting is hurting. I don't care whether it was mean behavior or bullying or anything else that you want to call it. All these children know pain. They know what it is to be unhappy. I don't necessarily know if they're going to know how to define everything. Maybe to them everything is bullying because of how popular it is, but I really don't care what word you apply to it. They're hurting. And it really doesn't take that many exposures to have an impact that can hang around for a really long time. That's the only thing I can tell you. So I hope that answered the question a little bit. Who else? What do we got? We got more? We got the young lady in the back. That is you.
I was a high school principal and tried very hard to take a stand against bullying. At that time, I was told it wasn't our job. I feel it is. What do you think?
It's not the school's job? That's what you were told?
Yes, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought it was.
Yeah. You know what? I think that it's all of our job. Okay? I think that it's not only the schools. The schools have an incredible amount of responsibility. They've got to keep these kids safe, like physically safe. They got to teach them. They got to be there at the point of contact for everything. So I do think that anyone that has that much exposure to children has a responsibility to set an example and to be there to keep them safe. And that safety is not just physical, it's emotional, psychological, and everything in between. So I think that schools do have a responsibility, but they cannot be the sole bearer of the responsibility. These things must be addressed at home, and I think the entire community has a responsibility to set an example for how it is that we want to treat each other. If we just put this responsibility on the schools, we'll fail. If we just put it on the parents, we will fail. All of us have to work together. Take No Bullying, my organization, is a community-based prevention effort. I'm trying to rally small businesses, service groups, religious institutions to come together to take a stand, to create opportunities for raising awareness, education, and for alternative activities for children to get involved in besides the big four. Because I think that's important. We need to push positivity and create more opportunities for kids to discover things that they love. That is something we can do as a community. Absolutely. We are not powerless. Who else? Sir.
You've just described a number of solutions, but what are some of the most successful teaching experiences that you've been able to employ in stopping bullying and or rescuing bullying?
Sure. I'll tell you right now that there is nothing inside me that is looking to try to stop bullying, first and foremost, because I don't think we're going to. Okay? I don't think we're going to stop it. What I want to do is I want to limit the impact that it is having on our kids and our families. We need to limit the impact, meaning that I want to take this from something that are stones and rocks that are being thrown at our kids and have them turn into cotton balls and things of that nature. How do we do that? I tell people, build up your kid. Let's build them up. Build up their self-esteem. Get them things that they're passionate about and that they love to do. Another thing is 62% of bullying cases go unreported. They go unreported. The kids don't want to talk. My mom didn't really know. When I came home from school as a little boy with rips in the knees of my pants all the time, my mom just thought I was playing rough, and she would actually yell at me. She was a single mom. How many pants can you go? I mean, there were times where I got whooped. But it was because I was being pushed down on the pavement, and it was ripping holes in the pants. I didn't talk. I didn't feel like I could say anything. I was scared to talk. If we bring it out in the open, this is the biggest thing that I want to do. If we can get this out in the open some more, We will give kids the strength. They will feel a little bit more empowered to come forth and say something. And if you just have the strength just to speak up for yourself and say, Mom, something's happening. 62% say nothing. Something's happening. That can shift the tides right there alone. It's not going to stop. It's not going to stop. I was doing a speaking engagement at a middle school in Highland Park. And after I was done up there, and I get real crazy with these kids because middle schoolers, oh man, you need to be like way larger than the group. And so when I was done speaking, they all they bum rush me, and they ask me the typical series of questions. How much can you bench press, and what do your tattoos mean? And so I don't answer any of those questions. I just make things up. And after they were done, they all run away, and there was this little girl sitting there in the back. She was wearing all black. She had short hair. And I came up to her. She was so sweet. I came up to the little girl, and I said to her, honey, what's going on? What's your story? And she said to me, she was looking down. She goes, I really enjoyed your speech. And I said, well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I go, what's your story? What's your deal? She said, the kids here at this school bully me every single day. And so she was so tiny. I got down on my knee, and I said to her, honey, why are they bullying you? Tell me, what's up? Why are they bullying you every single day? She said, because I'm fat and I like to sing. Because she's fat and she likes to sing. So I said to her, I said, listen to me. There's nothing I can tell you that's going to make the bullying stop. There's nothing I can tell you, but you told me that you love to sing. She said, yes. I go, okay, tell me something else that you love. She said, I love to dance. I said, I love it. Now tell me something else you love. She goes, I love to draw. I said, perfect. This is what you're going to do. I need you to dance until your feet fall off. I need you to sing until your lungs fly out. And I need you to draw until your hands fall off. Because if you immerse yourself in those things that you love, you won't have time. You won't really feel the hate that these kids want to put on you. It might still be there, but those stones and those rocks will turn into cotton balls because she will be totally focused on what it is that she loves. This might be the best we can do for now, but that takes a lot of work because we all have to get up and do something. Make it so kids feel more comfortable talking about it. Who else we got? We got a lot.
Well, so as a parent, what are some suggestions that you would have for us for how to create an environment where your kid does feel safe to talk to you about a problem like this that they're having?
You know, I mean, communication is huge, right? I try to tell my wife this all the time. It's not working. Communication is huge. We're here to set examples for our children, right? So I think sometimes they really do learn from what it is that we do and don't do. I think sometimes if we work on our own communication that we have with them on things and how it is, things that are unrelated to bullying, just how it is that you communicate with your child, how it is that you communicate with your spouse or your partner or your friend. Communication is huge. And so I think you need to create a culture in the house that is open about little things too, that you can just communicate. I do the best I can with my boys, but it can be hard. On this particular issue, because this is what we're here to talk about, one thing that has worked wonders for people that have been dealing with bullying or maybe suspect their kids have been bullied or something that's going on is they simply just get a little bit more active and make the bullying topic something that's a little bit more on the forefront in the household. And when I say that, I mean they start getting involved. They start coming to my different events. I've got lawn signs. They put them up. My kids, I got lawn signs. I got bracelets. I got everything. So they're like constantly talking about bullying. You know, they're so aware. And sometimes if the cat jumps on the counter and starts eating my food and I go, get out the... Dad, you should not talk to Nookie that way. It might be bullying. You're bullying. So like, We have to set that example. Everyone that's worked with my organization that has started coming to our events and doing these different things, naturally, they didn't even have to go to their kid. Their kid just started asking questions about what it is that you're doing. So get involved. Do something. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing that you can do to start getting that two-way conversation going on. But I mean, obviously, it stems to something larger, which is just how people are communicating in the household. And I think it starts with the little things as well. What else we got?
You just did something that I think was great. Earlier you said the little girl tell me her story. And that can be, it's not threatening, but it does.
Absolutely. So I do have something, an acronym called VIC, Validation, Information, Communication. Okay? This is something that I use with children all the time. When they, and man, you will not believe the things kids tell me in the gym. I mean, pretty much the same things, I guess, that my adults tell me, but they tell me everything. The first thing I got to do is you got to validate where they're coming from. Okay? You got to really, really listen. Don't just wait for your opportunity to talk. Don't go ahead and start defining what it is that they're trying to tell you already. If they're telling you something, oh, well, no, don't interrupt and start defining what it is. Just validate where they're coming from. That's the validation. The information part is now your opportunity to ask questions. And ask questions simply. Get the facts, as much information as you can about what's going on. And then after you're done asking questions, the communication part comes in too. That's when you can go ahead and let your child know your feelings on whatever's going on, and you might have to communicate some information to some other people. It could be a principal, a counselor, somebody. But you first must validate, you must ask questions, and then you must start talking. And this has worked wonders for people. What else we got? Oh, I don't know if I'm supposed to do this or that. She's over there. Okay, well, okay, we'll go here and then I'll go there.
What advice do you have to give to parents when they identify that their child's being bullied by another student as far as dealing with the parents of that other child? What advice do you have? Do you approach them? Generally, you know, do you work through the school? What advice do you have dealing person to person with the other parents of a bad bullying child?
Yeah. This is a question I get all the time. The truth of the matter is that you're probably going to react how you're going to react, depending on the relationship you might have with that parent. This is what I like to think. I'm a certified sexuality educator, so I can teach sex ed. And the very first thing that I learned when I went to Boston was they told me this whole world that we're talking about is about risk reduction. Okay? Risk reduction. How can we reduce the risk of an unwanted pregnancy? How can we reduce the risk of transmitting an STI? It's risk reduction. And so when you're looking at a situation like this that's happening, you want to go ahead and you just kind of want to limit. You want to reduce the risk of other things happening. And if you go directly to the parent and you say, your kid is no, that's not going to make anything smaller. It's going to make things explode. Okay, so number one, and again, I'm not here like I have the answer to everything. I'm the Wikipedia of bullying, but I know that going straight to the parent and like igniting that flame is probably not the best thing to do. I think the very first thing you should do is go through the VIC formula. The next thing I think you should do, and I hope that most schools have a system for this, I think you should go through the system that school has. If they do not have a system, a protocol in place for what is supposed to happen if your child is being harmed, whether it's physical or whatever, if they don't have a protocol in place, you need to start really flipping some stuff over and figure out what is going on and start asking some serious questions. I would start there. It's not something that you're going to be able, the biggest thing, if your baby, you have children, right? If your babies are sick or in pain, what do you want more than anything?
For them to get better.
To stop the pain, like right now, right? That's what you want. You don't want the baby in pain. So, of course, you're going to try to do anything you can just to make it stop, but the reality is this issue might take a minute to simmer down. don't throw more logs on the fire by going straight to the parent. Go through the system, listen to your kid. The biggest thing that you can do is just build up your own child in that situation. Let them know that you're there, that you'll listen to everything, that you're not going to jump to conclusions, that you're not going to jump out of your chair and flip things over and try to go beat up some dad. Just focus on them. Listen, ask them questions, and then communicate and let them know in whatever age-appropriate way you can that they're okay. This has nothing to do with anything being wrong with them. You love them. I'm here for you. You've got support. These are the other people that are supporting you, and this is what's going to happen next. I think that's the best we can do. I hope I answered your question. Okay, hold on. Okay, so here.
So there is a lot of talk about social media being a breeding ground for bullying. You know, you can be anonymous and bolder than you would be in person. Do you, that being said, you know, social media is not going away. Do you see positive applications for social media and preventing bullying or empowering kids? Or no?
Well, you know, look, I can tell you that bullying today is not the same as it was before, okay, because of technology. I was talking to one of my clients the other day, Dom. He's in his 80s, and I was telling him about some of my work that I'm doing with bullying. And Dom, he says, the neighborhood on the south side. You know, he's like, well, what you got to tell the kid, he's got to go ahead and he's got to make a tight fist and pop him in the nose. And when I told him, I said, Dom, I go, you know what? That worked wonders back, you know, in the day in the neighborhood, but what if I were to tell you that this kid doesn't know who's bullying him? And what if I were to tell you that this bullying can happen 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you have no clue. You never meet toe-to-toe, face-to-face with the person that's doing it. And it's just happening always, and it's coming at you in all different types of ways. And he's looking at me like, what kind of reality is that? I'm like, 2018. This is where we're at. So, are there, you know, the beautiful sides of social media? Sure. I mean, social media and technology can be used to connect you to people and help you find things and, you know, explore your creativity and stuff. I do not see, to be honest with you, I think that the existence of that outlet is only something that it acts as fuel for this particular issue. I don't see social media, you know, and of course, maybe there are ways, you know, you can put groups together and you can communicate, but right now, it is nothing more than simply fuel for the fire in this right now. I had a lady bring her son to me for training, and she shows me, again, he was being bullied. She shows me screenshots from the phone of messages this boy was getting, and I'm looking at these messages, and these are messages, you know, why don't you go kill yourself? I mean, all these terrible things, like memes with like knives and all this, and I'm looking at the times because these are screenshots of when these are coming in. 3 in the afternoon, 12 in the morning, 2 in the morning, 9 p.m. I'm like, this is insane. There's no opportunity to come home. When I was bullied as a kid, I could come home, close the door, make a double-decker PB&J, and be cool. It was over. That's not how it is anymore. Honestly, I think whether it's online or in person or whatever it is, it's the same steps as before. You know, I really do think you have to, again, talk to your kid, communicate, hopefully go, if they come to you, go through that whole Vic formula. I think that one thing that parents can do, and this is one thing that really bothers me, is that a lot of parents have no clue what social media accounts their kids are on and using. I tell them, I go, you need to become, well, I don't really use social media. Do you have kids? Yes, well then you use social media. You need to get out there and find out what is going on. If you don't have any education as to even what types of accounts and what types of sites and applications are out there, how are you even going to begin to even get the right information or communicate or understand what your child's exposed to. It's the World Wide Web. They're exposed to an entire another world of stuff. And if you are not involved in that world, you are out of it. So you have to get involved. You need, man, the things I could tell you, I mean, I know there's kids here, but the things I could tell you, there's like hidden languages. Like if your kid gets a certain message on Snapchat, it means something from somebody. Like a certain type. If they get a blank screen that's just a black screen from Jim, just as black, it's all black. That was what he got. That's code for something. Does anyone know what that's code for? Maybe some of the young people might, but I'm sure none of the adults do. There's so much stuff going on in this world, you don't even know. But you need to know, and you can know. You just have to take the time to get involved. Or maybe it's just not your problem, because your kid's not being bullied, and your kid's not depressed. So everything's fine, right? Right? Who else has a question?
My guess is, Chris, that there are more boy bullies than girl bullies. Is that true? And what's the difference between a boy bully and a girl bully?
Sir, that is not true. And I think you were setting me up. You know what? There's different types of bullying. Most of the physical bullying, surprise, surprise, still happens with the boys. But the verbal, the emotional, the passive aggressive, like they go ahead and they just just keep you out of the group, and like there's just so much manipulative, just crazy things happening with the young ladies. The whole mean girl phenomena. I don't want to sit here and say bullying is all, landing in the world of the the X chromosome here, but there's a lot of stuff going on in that world. What's really the difference? I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm still trying to figure it out. I don't know why these ladies, want to be so mean. Like sometimes they really do take it to another level, and I'm not sure. Sometimes I think maybe it might have to do with maybe the self-esteem of these young ladies. I don't know. Maybe we need to help them develop some type of connection to something else deeper inside them. I really don't know. I want to ask the question. I'm still trying to figure out why it's so incredibly hurtful what they do. It's a little different. They do more on social media, and again, more with the verbal and the psychological stuff than the boys. But it's not different, and so don't think that. And there's a difference too, by the way, between we've got something called pure bullies and bully victims. Okay, and this is something that's really important to know. Pure bullies are rare. Pure bullies are people. Let's just talk about children for a minute. Are children that got it all going on. I mean, really, they're getting good grades. They're, involved in tons of social activities. Their parents are doing a great job. No one's ragging on them. Like, everything's just kind of fine. And this kid just kind of smashes other people just because you're kind of in the way, if you will. And this is a pure bully, and there's really not that many of them. The vast majority of bullies out there are bully victims, meaning they're bullying someone because they're getting smashed on the other end somewhere, in some way, shape, or form. So when we're talking about, okay, whether it's girls or whether it's boys, what we have to understand is the vast majority of these kids that are doing this are bully victims. They're bully victims. When I did a pop-up art gallery last year during the month of October. It's Anti-Bullying Awareness Month. And I had all my artwork up there, and I was selling artwork, donated a portion of the proceeds to the organization. And in the back, I had two boards set up, okay, two big boards, massive. I mean, they were 6 by 8 feet or something like that. And one of them at the top said, "To the bully," and the other one said, "To the bullied." I was going to bring them today, but the rain and stuff, whatever. And so I had people write messages to actual bullies, whatever you want to say to people that are bullies, and messages to people that have been bullied. And so for an entire month, people would come in, they'd hopefully buy some art, but most of them didn't. But I'd make sure everybody that went in there went to the back and wrote something on both of these boards. I wish I could have brought them, but I was scared with the rain that I would destroy it. Both boards are completely full, and the messages on both boards are very, very similar. What does it say? Love. It was all messages of love. To the bully, love. To the bullied, love. The messages were the same. Why? Because again, they're hurting. Even the bullies are hurting. Most of them are bully victims. So what's the difference? I don't know what's going on, but what the similarity is, there's hurting, and love is what's going to solve it. What else we got? Are we out of time? I can do this all day. Here we go.
Okay. So how do you coach children to stand up to the bully if they see a friend that's not doing something right, to say, hey, this isn't right, and basically stand up?
So you're saying, like, in a situation where maybe a kid sees another kid being bullied,
Right,
and then, like,
right.
how do you coach these kids? So basically not to be a bystander?
Right.
Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
Look, bullying, okay, again, most of the time, this is not like back when I was growing up, okay, when these are like, physical, there's not that much of that really going on anymore. Maybe in some communities, obviously certain populations there are, but most of this stuff has to do with, leaving kids out, not letting, not having to be a part of the group. So these kids are like ostracized, and just tons of just mean behavior online. They're doing that. There's certain groups where like they won't let people in, or like everyone will be invited over. They'll all go over to someone's house and then post messages and make sure the other person saw it and saw that they weren't, so all that stuff is really where we're at. And so the bystander thing of someone sitting by and watching, how do you coach? I think it's important that we have to teach our kids that we are way more alike than we are different. This just comes down to like kind of fundamental stuff, but it can be hard to get that point across. But like, we have to do it. And I think that kindness, it comes by example. It really does. I got to tell you, I had some problems with my cat. He kept stealing my food. Okay, he was like really terrorizing me, and I was just constantly screaming at this cat, and my kids were always like, you're a cat hater, you're a cat hater. I'm like, no, I just don't want him taking my steaks. Like, he's really all over my stuff. And then finally one day I was like, you know what? I got to change my attitude towards this cat, because my kids think that I'm like this cat hater. I'm projecting that energy on them, and now I'm painting a picture of myself. So I changed everything. Now, when he's sitting there eating my steak, I come up to him like, oh, you love this steak, don't you? Like, I totally changed it. And my kids have totally changed how they perceive me, and they changed what they say. And now they don't call me the cat hater anymore. So they can learn a lot from what it is that we do or don't do. Okay? How it is that we include people or don't include. The kindness that we show or do not show. And that has a ripple effect. It has a ripple effect. Let these kids know, in those moments, if you actually have an example, tell them to invite the kid over. If they see a kid, invite them over. My son is so compassionate. He's like the bully police. He wants to he's inviting everybody, like he's so sweet, And he was bullied a little bit himself too, so he gets it. And now that I've been so vocal about this, he's like, I don't want those kids to feel how I felt when I was being bullied. So we can set this example, but it all starts by your actions. What you say, what you do is going to impact how your kids perceive this entire world when it comes to this. Okay, so our hands are not tied, but it really is the little things that are ultimately going to have a huge impact. Okay, thank you guys so much. I could do this all night long. If you guys have any questions, there's a little bit of information here on the back table, as well as some more orange flavored stuff if you want someone. Thank you.